Welcome to my super type A attempt at being Zen, the podcast. My name is Risha York, and I will be your host. If you are overworked, overtired, overstretched, overwhelmed, and just over it, you are in the right place. We like to say we are currently working towards Zen-ish. I'm thrilled that you've joined us. Let's see who will be supporting us on our path to Zen today. Hello and welcome back to my super type A attempt at being Zen. Today we have Deanna Palazzo, and we are friends from way back, so it's very exciting to have her on the show today. Thank you for joining us, Deanna.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
I'm so excited you've come. So you're going to talk to us a little bit about nutrition today and how we can reduce our stress that way, but tell us a bit about what you do and who you are to kick us off.
Sounds great. Well, my name is Deanna, otherwise known as Dee. So if Dee gets dropped occasionally, that is also acceptable. I am a lot of things, like a lot of women, I think, in this world and humans in this world. I'm a mom, I'm a wellness coach, I'm an actor, I'm a producer, I'm a teacher, I'm a wife, and I'm a type 1 diabetic, which I like to emphasize, but I don't necessarily start my life and start my world with that. I like to think of it as just having brown hair, and I'm a type 1 diabetic. Just changes the way I live my life. Yeah, so I have been an actor now for, scary to say, 3 decades. And you know, when I originally think, and I might kind of bounce around here, so bear with me, but when I think about, you mentioned stress, when I think about where I kind of gravitated into the arts field, which later kind of bumped into the wellness coach realm, was, you know, being a very introverted, shy version of myself, very early stages of anxiety, which I didn't realize until later in life. And ironically, my mom popped me into acting classes to get out of my comfort zone and saw that little spark in me. So I think I always gravitated to the performance as a way to kind of be my true self and be in its own way, which, you know, I was going to say, yeah, I know 30 years is accurate. I started at the age of 10 and I'm going to be 41 at the end of the month. You know, I just love affecting people. I love having people step out of their own world, their own craziness, their own whatever life is throwing at them, and making them laugh, making them think. And that's what really gravitated me to performance. And as I evolved through my own life, you know, I mentioned I'm a type 1 diabetic, and that was a big shift in my life. And that was a big, you know, Oprah aha moments of life, to a little self-analyze, check in, see where I'm at. You know, I realized as I started taking the reins on my own health and nutrition, which we're going to talk about in just a moment, I found myself doing the same thing that I did when I was acting, was helping people find their passion, find their selves again, sometimes like for myself for the first time, and really step into themselves. So I like to kind of think of myself as a coach or a guide, to help people into whether it's finding the healthiest and best versions of themselves, channeling a different part of themselves, making them think. I'm a woman of service, I guess we'll say. Yeah, so lots of different caps I wear. But that's kind of me in a nutshell, I guess.
And it keeps you really busy. Like we were just talking, there's so much to do. There's never an end to the list, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, throughout, you know, predominantly your nutrition journey here, how has that nutrition journey changed your life? Because as much as you're busy, you rarely seem super stressed to me.
Well, the acting, no, I'm just joking. You know, I think there's a lot of things like, okay, so as I said, you know, I started my journey in this life as I grew into from child to adult as an actor, stereotypical Canadian actor, working in the service industry, working night shifts, comedy culture, a lot of alcohol, a lot of other things. I never did any of the crazy stuff, but around the culture enough that I was not eating properly as much as I wasn't necessarily eating the worst, but I wasn't eating great. My sleep was awful. Definitely more alcohol in my life. And I think also just as we all are in that stage of our lives, just navigating and figuring out who I was and how to deal with certain things. You know, I had certain patterns that I had been watching from my mom and my dad and other family members and how they coped with stress and trying. I like to say recovering people pleaser, but I don't know how recovered I am. Um,
You're not
but like,
alone, Dee. You're not
yeah,
alone.
yeah,
There's so many.
yeah. So like that people pleaser, perfectionist, trying to make everybody happy. You know, unfortunately, fortunately, I dealt with a lot of death in my life early on. So learning how to deal with that, put on the brave face. There's just a lot of in its own right performing for a long time, which I think really triggered that anxiety and panic attacks that I suffered later in life.
Sure.
And not knowing how to navigate it. And filling the voids with what everyone else was doing, and you know, going on these little spurts of healthy eating. I was a vegetarian for a little bit and trying to find the grasp. On another level, my mom actually was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in her early 30s, late 20s, similar to where I ended up later on. So I think in the back of my mind, I had this fear that it was going to happen to me. So talk about putting things in the universe. Maybe I
Right.
did that. So I felt like I think there was a hyper awareness too of like, I should be doing this better, but I'm not, and I don't know how, and all these things that added stress levels in the 20s, right? So when I hit 29 and I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, well, now I had to really focus in on that and look at my, you know, all the different bits and pieces of my life. And like a lot of people, when you get diagnosed with a high health challenge, I like to not give illness the power, but the health
Sure.
challenge.
Yeah.
It really, I went through the stages of grief. I hit a very rough depression. We had been living in a beautiful condo, rented, still Toronto, actor life, but you know, on the 31st floor, you know, at Friends Spadina. I'd met, you know, the man who would become my husband, and got the life that I was living. You know, we wanted to start a family, we wanted to do all this stuff, but the way that life was going, it was really not looking like it was doable. And especially with my diagnosis, it kind of felt like I remember the moment of getting the call saying, yes, you have diabetes. And it had a good cry of like mourning the life from before and how are we moving into the next stage, and being like, oddly enough, like strong enough to deal with it, but like,
Yeah. No, I
but
can appreciate
still,
that.
yeah, like still trying to put all the pieces. And of course, people pleasers, like, oh, my mom's gonna get up so upset. Like I'm thinking of everybody else's reaction before like, you have this illness or this health challenge. So you know, that's a whole conversation itself, that journey. But you know, God really dark place. And I think one of the best gifts, because I truly believe everything in this life happens for a reason, was in my mid-20s, I was recommended to take comedy, like sketch comedy, improv classes at Second City. And I really started falling into comedy. And I'd been around the theater world and writing my own pieces and surrounding myself with incredible artists. And a gentleman by the name of Dan Stolfi wrote an incredible show about his journey with cancer called Cancer Can't Dance Like This. And I remember being in awe of how someone could go through what he went through with such humor and grace. And part of me, I remember being in that basement, like, because we moved into my parents' basement. I don't know if I said that, literally the dark, and being like, okay, how can I make this make sense?
Yeah.
How can I make this make sense? And finding humor and connecting with him and talking about it. And it's like I slow build kind of out of the dark. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And then as I kind of became ready to do whatever I needed to be done, I started taking the nutrition piece even more seriously. You know, for insulin, having 3 meals a day, having my snacks, and trying to navigate being a woman, being a human, being an artist, being constantly looking at our body. Is it too big? Is it too small? Is I didn't
Oh,
get the book,
yeah.
all that extra layer. So I'm trying to add
Especially
more
in the
food
performance
and
world. Like as a
yeah.
performer, you know, I joke all the time because I went to theater school too. And as we know, like that's
Mhm.
how we initially met, was through that world. But, you know, part of the reason I never went into performance is because I had very good friends. I started early in performance. Um, But I remember being denied for roles because my nose was too big or my ears were in like disproportionate to what they, and it's like these are things people can't physically
Change.
change about themselves. And if they, I mean, they can, I guess, with a lot of money, but why would you, right? Like it just
Hmm.
seemed really silly. And so there is, when you're a performer in the theater and film world, this attack, and they're like, don't take it personally. I mean, how can you not? This, you're
Yeah.
literally, critiquing the body that I inhabit.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're trying, so there's this ever going, relationship with food, body image, all these things on top of, my diabetes dietitian and nutritionist saying, okay, you need to eat 3 meals a day and it's healthy snacks. And I'm coming off of like 1 to 2 meals a day lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I'm like, super cute. I'll do the 3 meals. I'm not going to do the snacks, but I say that because a bit of miscommunication with my diabetes team. I was trying to be the perfectionist, the perfect diabetic, and follow the rule book. And was sitting there eating way more carbohydrates than I needed to. I couldn't be active because I'm learning how to function with insulin now. So any activity I was doing before, and I was a crazy rollerblader. I lived in Toronto, downtown Toronto. I didn't have a bike because I didn't want it to get stolen. Transit was ridiculous. So I rollerbladed everywhere. Like people made
Yeah.
fun of me. I rollerbladed so much to being able to do nothing, not even grocery shop. Right. So the reason why I'm saying all this is because if you can feel the level of stress and
Yeah.
anxiety and all that build, right?
And not
So
knowing, like the not knowing, I think that's the
yeah,
hardest part when somebody suffers a health challenge, right? It's the not knowing what comes next.
exactly. And there is a lot of fear and pressure and all this stuff because you want to be well, you want to be back to the version you were before, at least a shadow of it. You want to
Right.
make sure everyone else is not paranoid and worried something's going to happen to you and all the things, and finding yourself again, like so because apparently I liked the torture, I decided to move to Penetanguishene, Ontario with my husband, where I knew nobody, which was not good for my personality type. I may seem extroverted right now, but I'm actually very shy, especially then, even more so. Um, to be quite honest, I hit a breaking point. I was so broken. I didn't recognize the woman in the mirror. I was almost 200 pounds. I was walking out of auditions. And again, I'm not belittling anyone's body by saying that. I was just not in a healthy space for me.
Yep.
And not even just in my physical body, but in my mental health. It was
Yep.
just not in a good space. No self-love going on there. I remember a girlfriend of mine telling me about affirmations, and I thought it was hilarious and so stupid. And now it's like, I swear.
A daily practice now. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was, my mindset was so negative, right? It
Yeah,
was
that's a
such a
huge
negative
part of
self-talk
it,
space.
right?
And
Like
it's,
a huge part of it is trying to find your way back to you.
yeah, which we all get, for me was
Yeah.
diabetes. For some people, it's just your 20s. For some people, it's a bad breakup. For some people, it's, a career change, a child, a loss of, there could be so many reasons for a
Oh,
restart or all those things. But
I
so
think we
at
do
that
that
point,
actually like several times through our life. I think
yeah.
there's moments through your life where you have these pitchfork or these no fork in the
Work in
road
the road.
moments, right? Where you're just like, well, wait, this is a turning point. So I have to make a
Mhm.
decision here, right? Or here's a diagnosis, or here's a traumatic event, or whatever. And then you
Mhm.
have to kind of choose your own adventure at that point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Thank God those books existed because they really did help me understand the whole concept of that. But
Totally.
right? It's like I
Yeah.
think throughout life we go through these moments. Like you can pinpoint throughout your life these moments where you met a specific person or suffered some kind of trauma, and it shifts your mindset and forces
Mhm.
you to become a little bit more vulnerable and honest with yourself. And
Yeah.
those are scary moments. They can be really scary moments, and you can go in a really bad direction, or it can really elevate you to the next level.
Exactly. And, you know, I was just chatting with that, chatting about that with someone the other day who had been recently, you know, waiting on a diagnosis about something, and how you choose to respond. And, you know, we sit from this standpoint, I won't share your age, but like I'm 41, as I said at the end of the month. There's a lot of life lessons, and there's been a lot of intentional time into personal development and learning how to look at life and perspective and all those things. So, you know, I certainly wasn't in this mind space 9 years ago when I
Right.
really made the shift. But again, it was that breaking point where I knew I needed to do something. I didn't
Yep.
know what it was. And, you know, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law had, you know, been kind of working in a healthier lifestyle, and had an amazing community they were part of. And I was so reluctant because we're all so comfortable in that comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I was so negative that nothing would ever work, and I knew all the things. And anyway, you know, fast forward, I was able to really start appreciating how important it was to really take care of our body, mind, and soul. Um, and that was really kind of the biggest shift for me, was not only paying attention to the nutrition piece, but the mindset piece, the community piece, the moving my body, but without the pressure of a certain amount of activity, or, you know, having to restrict all the things in my world. It was just about, how can I be the healthiest me
Yeah.
at my pace, and take it, you know, the whole concept for us is like that 100%, you know, that 80% is focused in, yes, the nutrition plays such a strong component of how we operate. 20% of our results or our overall wellness is coming from how we move our body. And it's going to be different. For some people, it might be just a walk around the block or a walk to the stop sign. For some people, it might be an hour at the gym. Fantastic.
Yeah.
But being okay with wherever that space is for you. And then the mindset piece of not being not being afraid, but being intentional about giving it love and time and attention. And, you know, I always say, like, you know, along my wellness journey, I've been able to release 65 pounds. I feel great. My, you know, my type 1 diabetes management is better under control. I've had 2 healthy babies, like, all great.
Yeah.
But the mindset shift over the last 9 years, I truly believe got me through COVID. I
Yeah.
truly believe has got me through some of the hardest things I've ever experienced in my life, whether it was, you know, I've suffered from 2 miscarriages, loss of people very close to me, continuing on, you know, in my life, other life challenges and health challenges for people I love. And just even showing up, being a better parent, being a better wife, being a better human,
Yeah.
um, you know, and all of those things, in order to, you know, you said I'm so busy, and how I show up is being intentional and saying, okay, because I've had my moments of forgetting about the mindset part.
Yeah.
And
We
mindset
all do.
doesn't,
We all do. Like,
yeah.
and I think it's important to note too, is for our super type A listeners, you know, like that conversation around mindset is important, but also you're going to come in and out of it sometimes, and that's okay, because
Mhm.
you can't be perfect all the time. No one can be sunny and bright side and all the time. It's just not even possible. And as someone who, I will share my age, is 44 this year, and currently going through some really fun perimenopausal things,
Really
like,
fun.
you can't predict sometimes what's going to come at you.
Mhm.
But like you said, this practice through the mindset piece and the practice of, you know, fueling your body in an efficient and helpful way that's good for you. And that's the other part. Like,
Mhm.
I have to, at this point, remind my super type A listeners that sometimes we find something that works for us and we want to shout it from the rooftops and tell the whole world that they have to do it exactly like us because we found it. We found the secret. But the truth is, every single human being is different, right? So
Mhm. Yep.
we all have our own path. We all find ways that work for us. And
Yep.
knowing that for yourself actually brings a lot of grace and understanding.
Absolutely. And again, it's, you know, we you said, how do nutrition play a different part? Well, I think, you know, I recently completed my health coach certification. So this comes from my own experience as a wellness coach, but also backed up knowledge is, you know, how we start our day, we hear it all the time, right? Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And we're all like, whatever, but it really is, right? And what we choose to make it, whatever that is for you, if it's the healthiest, the healthiest version of what breakfast can be for you. And I mean, the more nutrient dense, the more good stuff you have in it, not only is it going to, it's almost like this magical thing that happens if you think about it, good and bad, right? Or however you want to define that, is if you have something that's, higher in sugar, kind of higher in carb, not a lot of nutrients, if you start your day off with that, your body's just going to crave it all day, because it's almost like you're leading it and teaching it what to do and what to kind of absorb. And then if you're putting something that's nutritious, nutrient dense, maybe some beautiful protein in there, complex carbs, all those things, your body almost starts to crave it because it starts feeling really good.
Absolutely.
And it likes feeling good. And so you might, start finding a way to, or start noticing you gravitate to different things.
Yeah.
And again, to each their own, whichever nutritional journey that you choose to be on or follow, but just, try to make sure that you're doing, do your homework. Like, am I getting enough? Like, you talk to vegans, like a vegan has to have it's almost, and vegetarians, it's kudos to you, because you have to make sure you're getting all the proper protein combinations to make sure you're getting what your body needs.
Yeah.
Making
It's
sure
a
you're
lot of
getting
work.
enough vitamin. Oh my gosh, all the respect in the world to navigate that journey for you. But do the work, because if you're not getting enough iron, you're not getting enough of those things, it is going to affect you. And, that's, and where I can say that is when I look at, as I navigate my world as the healthiest version of me, the days that I'm starting the day on point with my nutrition, I'm getting, for me, it's 3 healthy meals and snacks in between, is like the days I'm following that, my energy is better, which makes my mood better, which makes my sleep better, which makes it easier for people to be around me. And it's easier for me with the sidebar conversation of mindset to check in when I'm off. Because I'm like, okay, my nutrition's on point, my hydration's on point, my sleep probably could use a little bit of work. I do have 2 children, 4 and 7, which challenge that. But have I plugged into my mindset? Because I love that you said it's not perfect. I don't believe in perfect. I think perfect is overrated, quite honestly. It's like when people are experts, I'm like, that'd be boring. Like, I don't want to be an expert. Like, there's always stuff to learn, like evolution, growing. Like, let's not still teach like how to type from 1950. I don't know, whatever started, but like
where'd you go, Dee? Where'd you go? Yeah.
But it's like, because I know when I look back, okay, you talked, are you okay with me being candid? I'm a very open book person. So I have suffered 2 miscarriages. With my second miscarriage, I didn't know it was possible, but I actually had postpartum depression. I associate it always with, you have to physically have the full experience of childbirth to have that. I learned you do not. So with that, as you said, there's things we can't control. I can't program my brain to operate differently when it's going through something. So I found myself I'm very fortunate. I really enjoy my nutrition journey. So I'm pretty good It was pretty good there. But activity started pulling back. Mindset was not being cared for enough properly when it needed extra to be retrospectively. I think all the work I'd done before in understanding myself made me realize something was not right. So I could reach out and say, I don't know, it feels like this is weird and maybe this could be a thing, but I don't think you can have that. And literally the person, the professional say, yeah, it's possible. And it was almost the awareness for me that helped me move forward. That's not the case for other people. There may be more sessions. Please talk to who you need to talk to. But it was a good, healthy reminder for me to say, yes, I have permission to step back and figure this out and navigate it, grieve, whatever I need to do. Number 2, speak to the people I care about and say, listen, I'm not me right now. I'm also diabetic. So it's almost like I'm bipolar if my sugars get off, right? So on top of that layer, but finding yourself back to that peace. Well, what brought me peace? What brought me closer to me in times before? Well, I love meditations. I used to hate them. I love them, especially at bedtime. I was a chronic overthinker.
Yeah.
Brain dumps didn't work. Brain dump is where you kind of write everything up. Didn't work for me.
I love a
Meditation did.
nighttime meditation. I actually
Yeah.
just bought myself one of those headbands with the built-in earphones. Have you seen
Earphones.
them? It's
I've heard of it.
magic because I would lay in bed and want to listen to a meditation, but I had those big headphones, and so it was
Yeah.
really uncomfortable. And the little ones would fall out all the time. These are like cozy. I think it's called Music Cozy. I'm not doing an ad. They're not paying me. But anyways, I bought one and I'm in love because it's
Yeah.
like I can go and lay in bed and it's super comfortable and put a
Mhm.
nighttime meditation on. And I mean, there's nighttime meditations for everything in your mindset you could ever possibly imagine. It can be
Mhm.
for stress and anxiety. It can be for manifesting the future you want. It can be for healthy eating. It can be for anything. So I love them. I'm obsessed.
It's funny because I remember the first time I put one in, it was like this woman with this Irish or Scottish accent. I was like, this isn't gonna work for sure. I don't think I've made it 2 minutes. But it's funny because now I find that it helps me so much that my kids actually love them. So if
Yeah.
I'm lying with them in bed, my son, not officially diagnosed ADHD, but we're quite certain he is. He's so fidgety at bedtime that I notice it's like his body will just slow down and listen. And my youngest will be out in like usually 3 minutes at most.
Yeah.
But again, it's creating a new kind of routine for them if they need it. And it made bedtime a lot easier for all of us because
Yeah.
they can be so busy, and it calms us. Um, Things like for me, so I told myself for decades I couldn't run. Negative thinking. I have asthma, I have bad ankles, I have bad knees, and all the things. I live in Penetang. It's like San Francisco of Canada, like too many hills,
So
whatever it
many
was.
hills.
So many hills. But during COVID, like a lot of us, I love my family, but I had two very little kids in a very small house, and I needed to move my body. I'd gotten used to moving my body, and how much, when we're active, it releases chemicals in our brain to feel good, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, those endorphins, that time for me that I could put my phone away, listen to some personal development, listen to some music that just like fired me up, and I needed it.
Yeah.
Um, so, my mission during COVID was not to make sourdough bread, but to learn how to run. Though I know a lot of people that do sourdough, and kudos to you. I enjoyed some of your bread. But it was that kind of little thing. And I realized how good I felt doing something I told myself for so long I couldn't. And it's not running for everybody. It might be walking more. It might be whatever activity you enjoy. Like,
Yep.
what do you enjoy doing, right? For me, that's what it was. So when I find myself in a space like that, I'm like, Jamie, it's my husband. I need some time. I need 30 minutes, 45 minutes, sneakers. I'm out. You're on parenting for the next little bit, and not being afraid or ashamed or saying laundry can wait. Cleaning up the house can wait.
Yeah.
Those things can wait.
And
Because I need to fill my cup.
that's a chronic issue, I think, with our super type A behavior friends is that we're always putting everybody else first and we're always putting our responsibilities and duties before ourselves. And we forget that, you can't feed from an empty well. So if we don't take that time to fill our bucket, fill our well, make sure that we're well cared for, that we're eating properly, that we have time to go out and go for a run or a walk or hit the gym or visit with friends or whatever that might be that makes you feel like we're so used to. It's funny, like when you were saying, I got my diagnosis and I was worried about how everybody else would react. This is also a very common reaction of somebody who is super type A because but an empathetic type A, right? Someone who is very concerned about what other people are going to think and feel as it pertains to them. And then they flip immediately to their responsibilities to like, but all of these things are my responsibility. And sometimes not meaning to, we include other people's feelings. And the thing is that, yeah, what you do in this world has an impact and there's accountability there, but who you are is a different conversation. Who you are as a person, that emotional response to who you are is other people's responsibility, not yours.
Totally. And I think that's the gift of, like, again, I find that I always come back to personal development, because I remember being recommended the Four Agreements like a million times.
Yeah.
And I wasn't ready for it until I was ready for it. And then the same thing I've heard like 8,000 other speakers say, or reader or writers say, just click differently, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, we're just like, we are the lead character in our own story. Everyone's in their own story. Like, it does, like, it's like not your responsibility. I'm gonna misquote it, so I'm not even gonna try. But it hit me, the idea of other people's opinions are not your business, like, hit me so differently.
Yeah.
And I heard it from so many other people, but it was
100
just, I
times,
needed
right?
it in that moment, and I was ready to hear it. And now, becoming from that people pleaser space, I'm like, just started to release. And that's why I say recovering, because I'm definitely not where I was before. I'm
Yeah.
now in a space with my life. If I'm like, if you don't like me, if you don't, you know, see what I'm doing, you don't understand what I'm doing, that's totally fine. That's your journey. That's your story. If you know me, my highest value is integrity, honesty. Like, if you don't understand that that's mine, then that's fine. We're just not meant to be in each other's
We're not
stories,
gonna
and that's
mesh. That's
great.
okay. Yeah.
That's
It's
so fine.
honestly,
And before that would trouble me.
well, that's it. And I think when you discover your personal values, um, it takes you to a place where you can be like, I always use it in Lead Without Permission, the course that I teach. I use it as, this is your lighthouse, right? Forever and always, when you discover what that is, this is now your lighthouse. When you have moments where you look around and you think, how did I get here? Or who are these people around me? I want you to look for your lighthouse, and I want you to come back to those values, and I want you to repeat them to yourself and think, now, where I am right now, the job I'm doing, the people around me, what I'm doing, do they align? Are they in alignment with those things? Because if they're not, then that's why things don't feel right.
Yes,
Right?
100%. And we all evolve at different paces and different
Yeah.
times. And it's the hardest thing, I think, when I got the diagnosis at 29, my world and my community was living a very different life,
Yeah,
and
absolutely. That's a huge
I've been,
shift.
yeah, and I was already kind of mentally kind of gearing into, well, I thought I was going to be a parent. I thought I was going to be a mom. And I was already starting to gravitate to this other space where people were not there. And that's fine. That's their
Yeah.
journey. That's their story. But again, as you said, like, they say you're the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. And, all these different quotes and things. And I say this now, I didn't know it then, but I just felt like I didn't fit.
Yeah.
And it was overwhelming. And then I thought something was wrong with me, because I wasn't happy with the activities from prior. And it was just, it happened. It's happened again as I've aged,
Sure,
and
it
I had
continues to
kids, or
happen. Yeah.
what have you, or I bought my first house and whatever, or
Yeah. It's funny,
whatever it
when I
might
was a
be.
teenager, so I was raised by a therapist who at the time was the director of the detox. So I grew up in a very emotionally intelligent household with a lot of tools in my back pocket. I also did a lot of really, we'll say, um, saucy things at a young age. So I was trouble, but early.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think as I moved into my later teens, like, sure, I did some like partying or whatever, but generally I had learned a lot of the lessons that you're kind of meant to learn in college before I got to college.
Yeah.
And then you have to watch everyone around you do these stupid things. And you're like, hey, maybe that's not the greatest idea. But they're not ready to hear it. So you just have to watch everybody do it. And
Yeah.
then you have to be that person that doesn't say, told you so. And you got a little, you got to step back and be like, they have to experience to learn that this is not a good idea. And I mean, I'm not to say I was a saint or anything, and I definitely was not like sober or any of these things in college, just so we're clear. But maybe didn't make the kinds of decisions that I might have if I hadn't have experienced, you know, getting arrested or
Yeah.
just
Those
causing
things.
a little too much trouble in my teens, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And I think we come to these moments where it's like I'm surrounded in college by people who need to learn that lesson, but I've already learned it. And so I don't
Yeah.
feel like I'm surrounded by the right people, but then they
Hmm.
evolve a little and I evolve a little and I learn more and they learn more and you find your people,
Yeah.
right? And it's funny because
Absolutely.
I think about this a lot as it pertains to nutrition because I was a vegetarian for 7 years and it
Hmm.
didn't work for me. Like,
Hmm.
I generally did not feel well as a
Hmm.
vegetarian.
Hmm.
Was
Yeah.
not my thing. But
Hmm.
my mother was mostly vegetarian. My grandmother was vegetarian. And like, I was just sort of like, yeah, I guess this is what works for our family. Didn't work for me. Right. So
Yeah.
finding your journey.
Yeah, and it's funny because in that time period, because it was, it's cheaper to eat as a um uh constantly paycheck to paycheck actor. You get, working in restaurant slash theater, you get 50% off the not healthy food. Like
Yeah.
when you're coming in, I don't want to equate it to being in recovery because I haven't stepped in those shoes, but it is interesting because when you're making healthier choices, you kind of get judgment
Oh, yeah.
on
100% you do.
that.
Yeah.
And that was something that Jamie and I even experienced at the beginning of our journey because we had both kind of stepped back from drinking. My husband had a drinking issue before, so it was very shocking to people that he wasn't ready to tear one on. Teach their own. He needed to go on a journey himself.
Yeah.
But when we decided to be the healthiest versions of ourselves, like there was a bit of pushback because we never, type A, I love that because I am definitely that, but like, all over the place and that you have to be healthy. We never did that. We've never done that. We never
Yeah.
will. But we got the judgment, we got the jokes, we got
Oh,
the
yeah.
things. And it's like, you know what? That's fine. Like if that's the way you want to have, that's your thing, not me. Like that's on you.
I
But
think
like
that comes from a
it makes
place,
it
though.
hard.
I think that comes from a place. So I was thinking, usually there's this saying, right, where if you find something to criticize in someone else, the odds are you share that trait,
Yeah.
right? A lot of people will see something they don't like in themselves and other people and they'll criticize it. And
Mhm.
that's a pretty common thing,
Yeah.
right? Um, for me, it's that or you're so misaligned in values, like this person's just not for you and you should probably
Mhm.
just not be in the same space. You're not
Yeah.
okay together, right? You can respect other people and you can be friendly, just not friends.
Hmm.
But yeah, we see this thing in other people. We're like, oh, how, oh, so not drinking, and people will make comments.
Hmm.
I'm not a huge drinker. I can count on one hand how many times in a year I really drink. But it's funny because similarly, like people will be like, what?
Yeah.
Because I am an outgoing, ready for a party kind of gal.
Yeah.
So
And you
they,
can still have fun. You can still have so much fun and have no hangover. It's the best. But I
I'm
mean, like,
super fun.
and like, I still have a drink now and again. I still do all those things. But it's just I find that, now having invested so much time in living a healthy lifestyle that I really like feeling good. I'm 40. I don't deal with hangovers as well, especially because I don't drink as much anymore. And believe me, I used to, talk about our youth. I used to be able to win 2-4 salutes. Like I could drink my alcohol before. But again, I am a diabetic and I have to think
Yeah.
about those pieces of
And
the
that's scary
equation.
because that's like life or death situation, right?
100%. And I think we talk about health challenge, but I honestly think that for me, it was a gift because I am, gratitude is so important for me every single day. I have 2 kids that I love more than life that drive me up the flipping wall.
Yeah.
But I'm so great. I truly am grateful for them. They do make me the best version of me and the worst version of me sometimes. But the
Life with
gratitude
kids, Dee,
is,
life with kids. That's how that goes. Yeah.
but again, it's like, I remember doing a group once where a woman said, you know, we're talking about gratitude and the things that we're grateful for. And she said, you know, she said, keeping my little humans alive, which I loved. I so love that. Like that was her win from the day. And when you're a parent, you feel that so hard.
Yes.
But just like for me, every morning, two easy gratitudes is I have air in my lungs and a heart beating. Because with my health challenge, any day, right? With all of our lives, you know,
Yeah.
but for me, if I can take the reins on one thing of my being intentional about what I put in my body every single day, it just makes me feel a little more accomplished. I don't want to say control, but like
No, but it
makes me
is
feel like I'm
control.
contributing positively to myself. And, you
It is
know,
control because it's something we do have control over.
exactly.
Right.
We
And
do.
so sometimes there's a challenge of willpower. I can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I love a cheeseburger as much as the next girl. But the
As do
thing
I.
is, you just have to figure out what works for you. Right. And
Yeah.
so, like you said, when we monitor the things that go into our body, it's easy to see, especially now that I'm in my 40s. In my
Mm-hmm.
20s, it'd be like, whatever. I ate a whole bunch of junk and I stayed out till 4 in the morning and I went to school at 7 a.m. and I'm fine.
I
I
don't know how we
didn't
did that.
see the repercussions nearly as
Yeah.
much as I do now, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like I eat the wrong thing for breakfast and I feel like garbage all day long. So
Yeah.
I have to be very aware of the things that I'm putting into my body. I also have like every allergy on the planet. So in my brain, it's like, actually, I have none. Um, because how do you live like that?
That's hard.
Um, so, you start to figure it out, step
Mm-hmm.
by step, what works for you and what doesn't. And so it kind of leads me into my next question, like how
Yeah.
can we use that control that we have,
Mm-hmm.
right? And use nutrition and fitness to bring more balance and reduce our stress levels. Like what
Totally.
what calms the system?
A happy gut. A happy digestive system really does. Think about how awful you feel when you're bloated, gassy, kind of same thing, bad,
Reflux.
reflux, you know. And again, guys, I want to just stress that like, I don't believe in cutting all the things out. I believe that life is short.
Yeah.
I believe in moderation, balance. We still have our pizza nights. We still have our burgers and fries. Honestly, my favorite fries are the ones that are like so crispy. You know how much oil's in them.
Yeah.
Like, believe me, it's balance. But I think at the end of the day, when I think of how can I best show up for me, for the people I love, for all those things, we kind of talked a little bit about before about filling my cup, is like making myself that priority. And not, I've used this analogy many times, and for me it clicked. I'm a visual learner, that's who I am. But and I don't know if it was Rachel Hollis, Mel Robbins, one of those beautiful ladies that talked about this, was the idea, we think of ourselves as a glass vase, crystal vase, whatever, the most expensive, touch the wrong way, it can shatter glass, right? And right above us is an ever-flowing pitcher of water, ever flowing. There's this tendency, type A's, women, nurturers, people of service, to just tilt a little bit and spill the water on our kids, on our partner, on our colleagues, on our clients, on our neighbors, whoever. But if we keep tilting and tilting and tilting, it's gonna smash.
Right.
It's gonna smash. And instead of just letting ourselves stand still, fill our cup, put in the good nutrition, move our body, which is chemically designed to feel better when we do it,
Yeah.
even though we might hate putting on our sneakers and getting going and whatever it
Oh,
may
yeah.
be, we just stand still and freaking do the thing. We have so much more to give. That's
Yeah.
an ever flowing pitcher of water, guy. Like it can go on everywhere, everything, on and on and on forever. And we can't, you heard the saying, you can't give from an empty cup. You can't pour from a cup. Like you have to fill your cup.
Yeah.
So when you're putting in good nutrition, your energy is better. You're usually resting better. Your digestion is usually working better, especially if you're rocking that good hydration. So your body, your vessel, your vehicle is feeling good.
Yeah.
Mental clarity comes, sleep comes, it all ripples and works together as one.
Yep.
And what's funny is when we're really starting to feel better, and maybe, I'm not a generalizer, but most times we're a little more inclined to go do something active because we have the energy to do it. Find a way to have fun with it. So maybe it's like, I'm going to go for a walk and with my girlfriend, we were just saying, go find a meet up with a friend.
Yeah.
A big thing for us when we were kind of started navigating our wellness journey was, what are some things we can do that is like moving, like, because time, we're busy. Okay, well, I wanted to go meet up with Risha for an hour today. Well, what if we went for a walk?
Yeah.
What if we did something physical while we're connecting? And it doesn't have to have alcohol, and it doesn't have to have all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's like, the more you're putting the good stuff in, whether it's by food, whether it's through your ear holes, whether it's moving our bodies so we feel that beautiful sense of accomplishment, where maybe yesterday we got 500 steps and today we got 505. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like those little, non-scale victories, those little wins throughout the day of accomplishment, because we're in a world that just wants to tell us how bad we are, how, all the
Right.
things, like, but like, you know what I did today? I like did this activity thing, or like, it's just challenging ourselves to get out of our way.
Yeah,
And
I
we're
appreciate that.
all guilty of that, right?
Yeah. And I think there's also, I am not I really don't enjoy the gym. Like I love
Mhm.
swimming and there's active things I love to do, but I really don't enjoy the gym. But the way that I trick myself into doing my daily exercise is I love how I feel after. So being grateful for the afterglow of the gym gets me to go to the gym. Now, I don't actually go to an actual gym anymore. I bought myself an exercise bike and that's what I do every day. But
Mhm.
that, like the incentive to do that, and I incentivize myself all around it. Like there's a specific show I'm only allowed to watch when I'm on my exercise bike. And so
Mhm.
I'm not allowed to watch it any other time of the day or night. And it is specifically for exercising. And I want to watch it. So get
Mhm.
your butt on the bike. And then I zone out and I do that while I'm doing my
Yeah.
little bike thing. And then at the end of the show that I wanted to watch, I've done 30 to 45 minutes, depending.
Mhm.
And I have the nice afterglow that I actually like. And so it's sort of like win-win. And it's a lot of mindset tricks for me, but for me, that's
Mhm.
what works, right? Like,
Totally.
and in the summer, it's easy because I live on the lake and I love to swim. So it's like, I'm gonna go down to the lake and swim. And it's spiritual more than it is exercise for me at that point.
Yeah. But I
And
think that's great, right? Like that's you just hit it right on the head. Like each person's thing that's going to help them get through it, do it, start it, is going to be different, and acknowledge that.
thank you for joining us for part one with Deanna Palazzo. I hope you hop on and listen to part two as we continue to talk about how nutrition can help you find your balance and zen. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Visit www.yorkmotivational.com for more information on my Super Type A Attempt at Being Zen, the coaching program, Lead Without Permission, or visit our contact page to reach out to Risha. Wishing you all continued balance and fulfillment on your road to Zen.